Hi, welcome to Movie Review Mom. And if this is your very first time, a special welcome to you. Yay, I'm so glad you found me. And I hope that you like what you see, and I hope you come back. And I hope you subscribe. Be sure and click on that little bell notification, and it'll tell you every time I upload a new movie review or trailer reaction or documentary review. So, my goal is to give you the heads up on filmmaking quality and content so that you can make the best decision for you and your family as to whether or not you want to spend time and money watching a specific film. And today's review is especially important for both of those cases, filmmaking quality and content. So I'm so glad you're watching this, because this movie that I'm reviewing today has very mixed reviews, and I want to give you the full scoop without giving you any spoilers. So let's get started. The movie I'm reviewing today is called Old. This dramatic horror is now available in theaters beginning July 23rd, 2021. It's rated PG-13, and it's an hour and 48 minutes. So in a nutshell, this unique thriller is an adaptation of a 2010 graphic novel by Pierre Oscar Levy and artist Frederick Peters called Sandcastle. The intriguing film is about a family on a tropical vacation who discover that the secluded beach where they're relaxing for a few hours is somehow causing them to age rapidly, reducing their entire lives into a single day. Yikes. Director M. Night Shyamalan explained, this is his quote, "The book gave me the opportunity to work through a lot of anxieties I had around death and aging and things like my parents getting older." End quote. Surprisingly, this is his very first film to be shot on 35 millimeter film stock rather than being shot digitally. The movie was filmed during the coronavirus pandemic, of course, so the cast and crew had to be tested for COVID every day. The film mimics the feeling of being trapped and isolated and uncertain about the future, which is something we all experienced during the pandemic. Am I right? So, thank you to Universal Studios for inviting me to a press screening in person at a theater. I've missed that movie theater popcorn. All right, so let me tell you some of the things I really liked and didn't like, and then I'll offer tips for parents and some movie recommendations and themes worth talking about for sure. So first of all, things that I really like include M. Night Shyamalan. I've been such a fan of his for many, many years, and he's had some fantastic movies, and he's also had some duds that didn't do as well, but I've supported him through it all. And so I was really excited to see this new movie. Now, that being said, as I mentioned, I have very mixed feelings about this film. He is so great at building layers in his stories and in his filmmaking. This new horror absolutely has layers and his trademark twist at the end of the movie, which I love twists. I adore his no-cut camera work, where the camera's just scanning and going back and forth. And you see that technique used in many scenes in this movie. It's very effective. I love that he always puts himself in his movies as a minor character, but I just get such a kick out of that. At one point, my youngest son said that he wanted to be a filmmaker, and I said, "Ooh, put me in all your movies." But it doesn't look like he's going to be a filmmaker after all. So dang it. That would have been my big movie break. Another film technique that M. Night Shyamalan uses often in this movie is to show a conversation with two people, but only a small fraction of one of the characters is actually shown in the frame. It's an interesting technique, and it definitely captures your attention because you're wondering, what am I not seeing in the rest of the frame? What am I missing? And there's that uneasy feeling of what am I missing during the entire movie as you're trying to figure out what is going on. 𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗶𝗲 is such a striking actress from Luxembourg. The first time I saw her in a movie was in the fascinating film Phantom Thread. Have you seen that? You should definitely see that. It's very interesting with an interesting message. I really enjoyed it. Another actress I always enjoy seeing is Thomasin McKenzie. I thought she was fantastic in this movie, as well as in all of her movies, especially for being such a young actress. The rest of the cast did a great job as well. There's so much symbolism in this film, as in all of M. Night Shyamalan's films, really. And so while you're trying to figure out what's going on, ask yourself, what are the character archetypes that we're seeing in this film, and what can be learned from each of them? Some of them are very obvious. For example, there's this young, beautiful, thin model, Instagram influencer type of girl who's married to a doctor. She's very focused on her physicality. And so as she ages, of course, we are reminded of the lesson of vanity and the dangers of vanity. So that one is really interesting and obvious. There are some others, though. For example, there's a doctor, her husband, okay, I'll give you that one. And he is very self-absorbed in pride and titles. And later he becomes very paranoid, as some old people do. As he's aging, he becomes very paranoid. And so there's some interesting connections between pride and paranoia, and your reputation and what you think other people think of you and how you're perceived by them and all of that. Okay, I don't want to give it all away, but really focus on those types of archetypes. One of the characters keeps asking a question about a movie. So I'll give you the answer because the movie never tells you the answer. Fun fact, the movie that he wants to know about features both Jack Nicholson and Marlon Brando, and it's called The Missouri Breaks. Now, I'm sure there is some underlying layers and symbolism, but I haven't seen that movie. So if you've seen it, comment down below. Let me know what the connection is, because I'm sure it's awesome. There are some song choices that had interesting insights as well. For example, there's a song called I Will Remain, as these people are dying and aging and all of that. And so here's a viewing tip. Sit as far back in the theater as you can if you're watching it on a big screen in the theater. There are a lot of scenes that are really up close with lots of movement that might actually make you dizzy if you're sitting too close to the screen. There's some really great sound design, so listen to all of the sounds that you're experiencing as well. And then the visual, as I mentioned, is dizzying, just like these characters are experiencing this dizzying transformation as their cells are aging by the minute. It's very interesting. Now, there were some things that I didn't like. So let me tell you about those. First of all, this movie is just freaky and creepy and horrifying. I wouldn't describe the film as enjoyable at all. I could tell that the audience was extremely uncomfortable during the majority of the movie. And in fact, I took a friend and I kept looking over at her face, and the whole time she was like, kind of pulling away like, oh, and that's how I felt too. I didn't realize it was going to be a full-on horror movie with all the classic gore and death. His movies, the director's movies, are often horror, and sometimes you see stuff. It depends on the movie, but this one was just like full on. And I don't know what I was expecting, but I wasn't expecting that. M. Night Shyamalan took some risk with this movie for sure. Some will pay off and some will not. Most of the movie, you're wondering what the heck is going on and what is it that the director really wants to say. The audience that I watched the movie with, I think, was so shell-shocked that they really loved the very few humorous moments in the movie. They wanted some relief from all this constant horror. There is so much artistry in this movie that I think a lot of viewers are just not going to like it or even understand it. I think a lot of viewers are going to walk away going, oh. There is some poor dialogue at times that was frustrating, where I felt like people need to communicate better. And maybe that is one of the additional themes that the director is trying to point out, that we got to just communicate with each other better. And there is some of that represented in some of the characters. The ending felt very rushed, and some people think the ending was too hokey. I know there are twists, and I always look forward to the twists, but it's almost a different tone of the movie, and definitely a unique message that the director's sharing. Let me give you some tips for parents, because the movie's PG-13. Again, it's rough. There are some very horrific images, even for 13-year-olds. So I think I might have done rated R on this because of some of the images. For example, there's lots of skin with bathing suits and thong bikinis. You see the naked backside of several women. There's violence with blood and gore. People die in brutal ways. You see a lot of dead bodies, and there's a portrayal of a grand mal seizure several times, which can be very frightening for young kids that don't know what that's all about. The themes that are addressed are family, of course, time, aging, parents, parenting, forgiveness, science, sacrifice, nature, relationships, and for the good of all. I mean, among others, as well as hope. We'll throw that one in because I love that theme. Now, I always write down the funny lines and interesting lines as I'm watching movies so that I can share them with you, so you can kind of get a feel for the movie. And I won't share them all, but you can see them on my written review website, which is moviereviewmom.com. But I'll share a couple of them with you right now. There's the one and only funny line that I wrote down was spoken by Aaron Pierre, who plays a character who's a rap star whose name is Midsize Sedan. And all these people are aging and getting wrinkles. And he's this black guy, and he looks over and he goes, "First time they wish they were black." And the whole audience laughed, because black don't crack. And anyway, I appreciated that moment of humor, because the movie is so intense and dramatic that, like I said before, we needed a little bit of relief from all of that. Now, there are a lot of interesting lines. Towards the beginning of the movie, the mom and the kids and the husband are in a travel van traveling to this resort. And the kids are like, "When are we going to get there?" And the mom says, "Stop wishing away this moment." And it's said from a mom's perspective, to get her kids to stop saying, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" And yet it is the overarching theme of the movie. And that's not a spoiler. That's a lesson that I really want you to take away, that, we're always so anxious to move on to the next thing. And it's great to always have something to look forward to, but we have to learn to find joy in this moment right now, because that's all we have promised to us. Anyway, I loved that. And then another similar line is when the character, the mom, also says to her husband, "You're always thinking about the future." Again, another reminder that let's focus on what we have going on right now. All right. And then you can go online and see the rest of my lines that I recorded there. All right. So the movie review mom grade I'm giving this is a B+. Like I said, I didn't enjoy it, but I absolutely recognize the artistry in it. And I am still a fan, although I don't know that I'm going to watch this movie again, just because it's so horrifying. But wait, before we go, let me give you some recommendations for 3 other movies that I think you'll also enjoy if you have never watched any of M. Night Shyamalan movies before. These are some of my favorites by far. The first one is Signs, that has to do with crop circles and, paranormal type of stuff. Really, really intense thriller. And then, of course, The Sixth Sense, which has some great symbolism and lessons in that movie. And then the last one is The Village, which starts off as a creepy horror. And in fact, my husband was This was before I was doing movie reviews. He's like, let's go see that. I'm like, no, the trailer looks scary. And so I didn't go. And when he came back, he's like, oh, that was really sweet. And I was like, sweet? The trailer looks horrific. And he's like, no, I promise it's actually sweet. So with his endorsement, I went and saw it, and it is definitely got some of the horror elements in it, but that twist makes you leave the theater going, wow, that was kind of sweet in an interesting way. So definitely check that one out. All right. I hope if you watch this movie and the others that you enjoy them. Thank you so much for sticking around to the bitter end here and supporting my channel. Be sure and give it a thumbs up because that helps my channel to grow. And thank you for supporting me on Patreon as well. I really appreciate it. All right. That's it. Have a fantastic day, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye for now.